Yes, a part of this green transition is also the cooperation between the region and the Karlstad University, as you said. For us in the region, very much of our policy development starts off with that we participated in an OSD project. It was in the period 2005 to 2007. And this OCD project was about the cooperation and interplay with the region, with the university. And we got a number of suggestions on policy development in this area. And some of the most important were these three, that the regional innovative clusters, we should focus more on these clusters and also on the research at the university, supporting them. And they also suggested that we should form a contract between the region and the university about this kind of research. And also that the university itself should prioritize a few internationally strong research areas connected to these areas as well. So we have walked along that road for a number of years now, and so we have prepared a lot of things when we should start off with forming our strategy for smart specialization. And as you probably are aware of, OECD works quite often as a kind of think tank for EU and perhaps also for the Nordic countries. So I think the recommendations year 2006 were very much in line with what was former called within this concept of smart specialization. So I think we were quite well prepared when we, 2014, formed this smart specialization strategy for Värmland. In that process, forming this strategy, we worked together with civil servants as me from the public sector, researchers as Margareta Dahlström from the university, and business people from the clusters or from the industry. We were around 60 persons working together, forming a mutual understanding of the problems and the possibilities. In the analysis, we once again got confirmed that we are very strong in the area of paper, pulp and packaging, and tissue. There is probably no other place in Europe as strong as we are in these areas. So one of the results of this strategy was that we identified different research groups at the university connecting to the different specializations. And when it comes to the forest-based bioeconomy, which we are talking about today, it was 4 research groups at the university, where it's what the service research. It was a newly formed research group, PRO2B, Processes and Products for a Sustainable Bioeconomy. These researchers were earlier quite fragmented, divided in different groups, but in this process they joined their forces and formed this group. And also we had the research center that Margareta leads, the Center for Regional Studies, and also gender studies, including in this smart specialization. And for the case of the forest-based bioeconomy, we formed a common vision, all stakeholders together, that we want to show the way with bio-based innovations from the forest to a fossil-free sustainable society. And I think it's very good to address societal challenges because I think it attracts the researchers, it attracts the politics, and also this is a business we want to make good. So I think this kind of vision works very well. And for us, we are very happy that Karlstad University is very good at cooperation, and they are also rating quite high in national evaluation. But it's not only that; they are also getting stronger and stronger when it comes to excellence. For instance, they have the 39% granting in Horizon 2020 in round one, which is extremely high for a university. And one thing that came out from this smart specialization was that we formed this Academy for Smart Specialization. And it was based on the letter of intent and cooperation during this period. And it was only about research and innovation on these specializations, where also the forest-based bioeconomy has the highest priority in our program. So now we are forming a number of research and innovation projects together with the university, but it should not only be about that, it should also spill over to the education and training programs, so that the students from Karlstad University comes out there being prepared for taking part of the transition of the region. But we don't just want to have a number of research projects that are isolated from each other. We also right now are forming a platform with a steering capacity, working with strategy development, having processes to promote research and cooperation in different ways, work with internationalization. We also are working with the profiling of this academy in order to be known in Europe and known as a good partner. So we are forming a number of resources in this platform. So this academy is an arena not only for the researchers, but also for business, for societal actors, for entrepreneurs and business angels, etc. And last but not least, also for students, of course. The funding of this academy, we have promised that we have set aside 5 million euro from Region Värmland for this period, and the researchers at the university at least the same amount, and we expect them to also find external funding, so we expect a turnaround of up to 20 million euros. And we also pronounced a number of expectations of these research groups, so they know the rule of the game when they are participating in this academy. So for Region Värmland, it's important that Karlstad University is an internationally competitive university with excellent research, but also a strong sense for the place. And the Academy for Smart Specialization, that it should be a tool for transformation and renewal of the private and public sector in Värmland, as well for the research and education at Karlstad University. So we have quite high ambitions with this.
Thank you, Anders. So I'm now going to say something from the academic point of view. Why do we as academics want to be involved in collaborative research? Well, as we've heard earlier today, and also Anders mentioned, that real problems and challenges are of interest both for researchers and other actors. Of course, there must be a research interest to be involved in collaborative research. Also, collaborative research has a possibility for us as researchers to accessing data and empirical data that we may not be able to access unless we collaborated with other actors. And I want particularly to stress in this context that the great global challenges like transformation and transition of society desperately need knowledge from different types of actors, and knowledge dynamics, which I'm stressing here, knowledge dynamics is about developing knowledge together between different types of actors and different types of disciplines. So I'm stressing here, first of all, that several different academic disciplines need to be involved. So hence the research centers at the university that cut across different disciplines. They can be multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary. That's a sort of difference in how deep the collaboration is, but no single discipline can contribute solutions. We need to collaborate within academia. But we also need to collaborate in research with other non-academic actors, for example, firms, public authorities, civil society, and we call that transdisciplinary research. Those concepts look slightly different and are used slightly differently in different contexts, but we mean transdisciplinary does include other actors in the research than people from academia. The important thing here is that it's not only people at universities that develop knowledge. All actors have a lot of different types of knowledge to contribute, and together we need that interaction together to come up with solutions, or at least contributions to solutions for these great global challenges. But to work like this also needs openness, curiosity, respect for each other's knowledge, but also work situations. We have totally different logics. Anders works in a politically steered organization that frames his working situation. We have other conditions that frame other working conditions. People in civil society, if they're going to be involved, often have to do it on their spare time and so on. So we need to be open and respect each other's knowledge and working conditions and logics for it to become a true knowledge dynamics. And all collaboration takes time. Perhaps it takes even more time with these complex relations. It's also an important aspect from an academic point of view that collaborative research is a learning process. We as researchers also learn when we take part in this. So we learn perhaps in different ways and different things with the other actors, but it is a learning process. And the collaboration is also something that goes on throughout the project, not only, as perhaps has been more traditional, a sort of dissemination of the research results at the end of the project. The depth of collaboration varies, I've written down here. I mean, in the best cases, in terms of deepest integration, we collaborate already from start with developing research questions together with non-research partners. But it can also be different types of collaborations that come in later in the process. Here I've tried to list a few examples from the forestry-based bioeconomy, the social science research side, because as Anders mentioned, at Karlstad University there is also a large research group on more the natural and technical science side and hands-on innovation in relation to new products and so on. But on the social science research side, we are looking at processes of transforming society on a transition to a forestry-based bioeconomy and regional development. So it's a change of the whole society. And the basis for us to be involved in this is this really big Vinväxt initiative of 10 years, Paper Province 2.0, an innovation system for a bio-based economy. That made a platform for us to start focusing on this type of work. Being involved in this has also resulted in a number of spin-offs here. So I've listed a few. The first spin-off I mention here is a small seed money project that we had from the Nordic Council of Ministers called Realizing the Bioeconomy, where researchers, regional agencies and firms, cluster organizations identified a need for more knowledge about the quadruple helix. That came out of a triple helix collaborative workshop with partners from different countries. We all, from all different perspectives, thought we do need to know more about quadruple helix here. So we then had the next project coming out of that, transition to bioeconomy, smart specialization and quadruple helix, all those buzzwords. And that was co-funded by Karlstad University Region Värmland and the cluster organization Paper Province. Those were the partners that had identified the need for more knowledge. So we quickly got off the ground and worked a bit more on about what are fourth helix actors in this case. How do we involve civil society in regional innovation systems? How is inclusion of different actors part of a transition to a bioeconomy? And that project, in turn, has led to a newly started project called Transition to Responsible Forestry-Based Bioeconomy. And this is co-funded within the framework Anders was talking about, where the university and the region has committed 50-50 funding. So we've just started that project, and that includes also international comparisons on how in other countries have civil society become involved in smart specialization strategies in relation to transition. So this is examples of projects coming out of collaborative research within this area. My two last slides is going to stress something that's incredibly important for taking part and being involved in collaborative research. All partners need to know that we need to get outputs from the research that is relevant for the different partners, otherwise it will not work. So I'm starting here with, for us researchers, what sort of outputs do we need? Well, peer review articles in scientific journals is number one. That's what we are measured by. If we can't get that in a collaborative project, we shouldn't get engaged, because then we can't deliver what is needed. And an example here is a just newly published paper in an open access journal that comes out of those projects I mentioned on the previous slide. We also need presentations in international conferences, and the example here is that my colleague Ida Grundel, who is here as well, it's her presentation that she will hold tomorrow at an international conference in London that also comes out of this project. We also need input in new research applications, and I want to flag for this that we really hope we will get. We have several partners in the room here. We've applied to the Nordforsk Center of Excellence program with a project called Nordic Baltic Center of Research Excellence on Innovation for the Water-Wise Nordic Bioeconomy. Too long, so we call it Win Bio. And of course we hope that we win the funding. So we need, as researchers, to get new applications and new research out of our projects, and this is an example of how that happens. For other participants, it's totally different things that are needed to get out of collaborative research. Learning and professional development is an example of that, which I also want to flag for is also a research input for us researchers. Examples that we are engaged in and methods that we use are research cafes, where we're discussing ongoing research with regional partners. The top pictures there is from the Swedish organization RegLab's annual conference earlier this year, where we did precisely that. We have a big session like that next week in Stockholm, together with Tillväxtverket and RegLab as well. Quadruple helix workshops, the picture from the bottom right that you also saw at the beginning of my piece of presentation. This is where we use people around this table are from the 4 helices, and they are working on discussing these buzzword concepts. What do they really mean for us, if anything? How can we handle them? We also produce policy briefs. I have 2 here, and you can also pick those up on the table down there. So that's more popular science versions of our research results. So that was my final point.
Thank you very much. Yes, and again, we will have questions and answers soon.